Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Baseball Reference Deep Dive, where we type in random in the Baseball Reference search bar and we see what we can learn. Let's get right into it today. See if we can get a player. No, we're going to get a game, though, and it's a fairly recent game. April 9th, 2007, early game, one of the first games of the season. All right, let's see if we can very gently scroll down. All right, 4-1 White Sox win over the A's. This was in Oakland, April 9th, 2007. So, who would have been on these teams? '07, I would have been watching at this point. I'm not sure. Mark Burley. Okay, so we can maybe map this out. If we go every fifth day, we would figure that this would probably have been Mark Burley, I would think, for the White Sox, unless I'm getting that time frame wrong. And then for the A's, this was their 8th game, so this would have been their 3rd starter. Who would have been the 3rd starter for the A's in 2007? Not sure who that would have been. I'm fairly confident this would have been Mark Burley. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting that time frame wrong. Maybe he was with somebody else. I think he was with the White Sox in '07 though. So I'm gonna lock in Mark Burley. I'm not exactly sure about the A side. So let's scroll down and let's see what we got. And for our pitching matchups, no, it was not Mark Burley. Darn. Okay. Rich Harden. I do know that name. So let me. Yeah, long time with Oakland. Played up until this is 2011. So yeah, I would have been fairly aware of him. But all right, let's check through these rosters and kind of see what we get here. Scott Podsednik, known for his sole homer in that World Series year, coming in the playoffs, big season for him there. So this was what, 2007. So the White Sox won in '05, I believe. Is that right? Yes, '05 they won. So this was not a great year for him. I mean, if you look throughout the course of his career, was not the best of hitters. Never hit for much power. Just a random 12 homer season in Milwaukee in '04. Stole a lot of bases. I guess I didn't realize that about his game. Defensively was not great either. Interestingly enough. Scott Podsednik, postseason hero, Darren Erstad. This was his 1 year with the White Sox towards the end of his career. Led the league in hits in 2000. Was on that World Series team. He had a really good year that year. I guess as far as hitting wise, did not slug good at all actually though. 100 100 runs and over 200 hits. How did he get there? Oh, does he lead in something? He leads every. Wow, he is the all-time leader in center fielder fielding percentage. Darren Erstad, the more you know. He was a free agent signing for the White Sox. Okay. Interesting. Just some random little nuggets about Darren Erstad. Paul Konerko, one of the best White Sox of all time. Very beloved. It's crazy that these years in here around the World Series year. I mean, look at these home run numbers. Just about a minimum of 18 per season. And even in this, yeah, wow. He hit pretty good for average too, yeah, 279. This '05 year, one of his best, if not his best, until we got into this vintage part of his career where he was playing really well. I didn't know that he started with the Dodgers. That's interesting. Also was with the Reds for about 5 minutes. Yeah, that's cool. I would have thought if you would have put me on a grid and said White Sox one team only, I would have gotten that wrong probably if I would have tried Konerko. Jim Thome. One of the more underrated Hall of Famers, I think. One of the more underrated power hitters. I mean, look at this, 612 home runs. So we saw Mel Ott in one of our previous episodes had 511, and he was at 25th all time. So Jim Thome, 612. That has to be, I want to say that's like 9th all time, maybe? Let's go to these all-time numbers. Home runs. 8th all time. Okay, yeah. So top 10 in home runs all time. And I feel like just Jim Thome doesn't always get, like, I feel like he doesn't get a lot of recognition. He bounced around a good bit. He was with Cleveland. He actually came back to Cleveland towards the end. This was his... This was 07, so this was his second year with the White Sox at 35 home runs this season. I guess the thing about it is he never won an MVP, but again, this was the age of power. His 2002 season was really good. Led the league in homers. And like the other thing, again, like a 276 batting average. He wasn't just like an all or nothing power hitter. He was decent with the bat as well. That's cool. Oh, he had a good game this game. 3 for 4. Did he have any home runs? Yes, he did. This was his second homer of the season. Okay. Jermaine Dye, one of the more beloved White Sox in this little time frame, was on the World Series team. Respectively, this was a down year for him, which isn't even saying much just because he still had 28 home runs. Didn't strike out like a whole lot for as much power as he had. 325 career homers, got a 274 batting average. Definitely one of the more underrated players, I feel like. Joe Creedy, towards the end of his career, followed it up with an all-star campaign the next year. Won a Silver Slugger. What position? Third base? Wow. 30 home runs. Okay. This was not a good year for him. Looks like he was hurt. He didn't do much in this. A.J. Pierzynski. Also, I feel like fairly underrated. Played a long time, 19 years. Now he's an analyst. He's coming off of an all-star campaign. Oops, I didn't want that. So 07. That's an okay year. What was his defensive numbers like? Defense was fairly good. Yeah, a lot of these like 1.5, 1.2. Good defensive catcher. I thought he hit a little bit better, but again, maybe these OPS numbers may be a little bit skewed just because of the age of when he played. This is a good year here in Atlanta, kind of towards the end of his career. I didn't know he played for Boston. I guess that wasn't for very long. A.J. Pierzynski, good catcher. Alex Cintron, not the best of years. This was his second and final year in Chicago. Limited time. He never really played full seasons other than a couple of years in Arizona. Was on this World Series winning team, but he most definitely didn't play. Juan Uribe. This was towards, yeah, I was going to say, towards the beginning of his career. Not as well, he's more known for his Dodgers time and maybe even a little bit of his Giants time, but also, is he a... No. Okay, so he was a part of World Series attending teams. Cleveland made the World Series, the Mets made the World Series, the Giants won the World Series, the White Sox won the World Series. So he's a two-time champ? Yeah, okay, two-time champ. Was in the World Series several other times too. This 2007 season was not great for him. He definitely, his best years were in Los Angeles, and then this one year in San Francisco was pretty good too. He did hit 20 homers this year, coming off of a 21 homer season. Never made an All-Star game. That's pretty shocking. I feel like he would have made one at some point. But again, maybe a very good player that, respectively in that time frame just wasn't as good as other shortstops or third basemen. All right, Jose Contreras is our pitcher. Off the top, not the best numbers. He was with the Pirates in 2013? Wow. 7 games. Could not have told you that. Was on the World Series winning team. Got MVP votes. With a 3.61 ERA and 32 starts. It was a workhorse. Made an All-Star game the next year. Probably was hot before the halfway point of the season, I would assume, with the way his season ended up. Had 2 shutouts this year, but this is his worst year by far. I would assume, yeah, he made it to the bullpen later in his career. Led the league in wild pitches and probably could have in this All-Star campaign as well. This whip is pretty decent in these 2 years. These are not, though. Jose Contreras out of Cuba. Mike McDougal. This is a recognizable name. This was his kind of in the middle of his White Sox career. This was not a good year for him. This season right here, his 2006, so he started with the Royals, didn't give up any runs in 4 games, and then 25 games with the White Sox, he was really good. Was an all-star here as a closer for a bad Royals team, I would think. They were okay. They were 500, so they weren't like exceptional, but kind of came back, became the closer in Washington. Okay. It's with the Dodgers. I don't know why I recognize this name with the Wake Forest. First round pick. Huh. I don't know why I recognize that name, but Matt Thornton, staple of these mid-2000s, early 2010s White Sox. Good pitcher, very good pitcher. Started with Seattle, was not a part of the World Series winning team. This looks like his worst year with Chicago, ironically. Really good strikeout numbers, at least these 2 years. 87 and 72 and 81 and 60. His walks are okay numbers. Not great, not bad necessarily. I'm a huge proponent of not walking people. Walks are like the most annoying thing. Bobby Jenks, one of the big boys. This guy was the manager of the Windy City Thunderbolts in the what league is it? The Frontier League, independent ball. They are a Chicago-based team. He didn't play very long. Was on the World Series team as a rookie. This was an all-star campaign for him. Probably his best season. Yes, I would say his best season. This one's close, but I would say this one's a little bit better with his strikeout numbers. Wow, he was never a strikeout guy. Except for this year, which he had maybe some control problems. His team in the Frontier League, the Windy City Thunderbolts, was not very good. I interacted with him very briefly at one point. Seems like a kind of a carefree guy. Bobby Jenks will forever be beloved for the White Sox World Series. All right, Jason Kendall, now in 07, off the Pirates. We had a recent Pirates episode. He was traded this year to the Cubs. Who was involved in that deal? Jerry Blevins. I always liked Jerry Blevins. I always wish the Pirates would pick him up. Career 3.54 ERA. Like, look at these career numbers. Just consistency. All the time. This was his worst year. And it's like not as bad as, well, maybe this one. Sub 5, like, high 4.8 ERA. Like, he was just very consistent every single year. And he was a workhorse. This was the only season he didn't play very much. I always liked Jerry Blevins. I always wish the Pirates would have gotten him. Rob Bowen. Not much there. So, all right, so Jason Kendall, what was his career looking like at this point? We saw his stuff with this All-Star year in Pittsburgh. He was playing pretty well with Oakland. I would assume it was like mostly defensive stuff. Oakland. Yeah, look at this D-WAR. 2.6 D-WAR in 80 games, a half a season. Oh my gosh, is that like the best of his career? That is crazy. He almost put up more D-WAR in a half a season than his highest season. So he didn't follow it up very well once he got to Chicago. When he got to Chicago, somehow he got even worse, it seems like. He was not hitting well with Oakland. He started to hit better with Chicago, but his defense took a nosedive. That's crazy. 2.6 D-WAR in 80 games. That's nuts. Shannon Stewart. He's a decent player. I don't know who this is. This was his only year in Oakland. Most of his time in Toronto. Looks like he came back kind of for nostalgia's sake. Finished 4th in MVP voting in 03. Who was this behind? A-Rod. A-Rod on the Rangers. Carlos Delgado, Posada. This year he hit well. This was a good year for him. Towards the end of his career, he was 33. Shannon Stewart. First round pick out of high school. Okay. Milton Bradley. Cancer. He was shipped off later this season to San Diego. He'd only played 19 games, and he didn't play much more in San Diego, but it looks like he did pretty well. Actually, what did he do in 11 home runs in 42 games? Gosh. Look at these numbers, too. Led the league in OPS, on-base percentage in 0-8. And then he went to the Cubs and, was hated. That's funny. All-Star with Texas. Who did he get traded for? Andrew Brown? Yeah. Huh. Yeah, he definitely was not the greatest of guys. He was kind of full of himself. He's an Expos draft pick. Cool. Milton Bradley. Mike Piazza on the A's. This is fun. This is his last season. So the beginning of his last year. Did he have an okay year? Hit 8 home runs. Solely as a DH. This was him trying desperately to get out of the National League so that he could still hit. He didn't even catch it all this year. I mean, he was okay for the dusk of your career. This is pretty. These seasons are really impressive. I mean, pretty firmly one of the greatest catchers of all time. 427 home runs, career 300 hitter. Slugged really well. seasons with LA and with the Mets. All right, I guess okay, here's the question. Which part of his career was better? Was he better with LA when he was younger, or was this vintage Piazza better? I don't know. I think you could make an argument for both. He just didn't have like the league leading type of numbers with the Mets. Trying to see here. They're very comparable, I feel like. I think he might have been a little like again, take into account this is towards the end of his career and he was still very good. I think the big difference is he was hitting with the same amount of power as he was with the Mets, but he was hitting like look at this. 362 over 152 games. I think okay. I think that kind of sums it up for me. I think yeah, his on base percentage was in the 400s for several of these years, and he never really quite got to 400 with the Mets. So I guess his Dodgers career was a little bit better. 62nd round draft pick. Impossible nowadays. Eric Chavez, we saw him in the other one. Led the league in walks in 04. This 07 season was kind of on the back end of the good part of his career. This was his last good year, really. I guess you could maybe say these couple years towards the very end, but this was kind of the last little hurrah for Eric Chavez. Nick Swisher, I always liked him. Switch hitter. This was kind of in the beginning of his career. He would end up with the White Sox next year. That little experiment did not work out. Had some big homers for Cleveland. It probably would have been in this 2013 year. One-time All-Star with the Yankees. He had a good career with the Yankees too. 22 home runs. Perennial 20 home run guy for like 9 years. This type of guy you'd like on your team. He's going to hit 250. He's going to slug well. Solid career. Very solid career. Oakland drafted him. Bobby Crosby. He was a Rookie of the Year. This was pretty much his best year. Kind of. If you like home runs, this was his best year. He struck out a lot though. Wow. He really fixed that too. That's cool. To see like how much he struck out and then he started taking his walks and his strikeout numbers were down a lot. The only problem is he just didn't play as much anymore. Yeah, that stinks. Who did he finish over in 2004? Daniel Cabrera, Zach Greinke, Alex Rios, David DeJesus, Ross Glow, John Buck. Who is this? I don't know who this is. Very short career. Had a very nice rookie year. 19 saves for the 04 White Sox. Travis Buck. This is not John Buck. This was his first season. So when was his first game? April 2nd. Our game's what? April 6th? April 9th. So he'd played a couple of games before. So he's a right fielder. Had a hit in his debut, so this was not his first career hit that we get in this game. Good rookie year. Everything else after that was kind of bad. Good, he only played half a year. 22 doubles, that's actually a good number. 22 doubles in 82 games, that's pretty good. He would take his walks. He was on base a lot this year. And then just couldn't figure it out after that. Travis Buck. First round pick out of Arizona State. Mark Ellis. Solid player. Is this his best year? Career high in homers. Batting average was good. So this is his most games, or second most games played in his career. A lot of runs scored this year. That was by far the most. Interesting. This was one of his better years. I guess this year was pretty good too. Defensively very stout. Mark Ellis. 2014 with the Cardinals. That's very forgettable. I did not realize he played with the Cardinals in that time that the Pirates were jawing with them. Makes sense though, he only hit 180. Let's go back to Rich Harden here. Canadian. This was his... He didn't play much this year. I guess he got hurt. So this was one of his 4 starts. He pitched really well in this shortened time. He only pitched 25 innings. So 2007. Let's look at these game logs. Let's kind of try to diagnose if he got hurt. April 4th, April 15th. So he got hurt there. Missed all of May. So he missed 2 months. Pitched a couple of times here. And then July was his last game. Looks like he might have been taken out of the game early here. So Harden had an injury-riddled season. His real name is James Harden. That's funny. Wonder what his step back 3 looks like. Ended up getting shipped off to Chicago the next year and then did come back to Oakland, but looks like the best part of his career was behind him at that point. Jay Marshall, good pitcher. Oh, no, I'm thinking of somebody. Sean Marshall. I was thinking of Sean Marshall with the White Sox. So 07, this was his only full year. April 2nd, he made his debut, got 1 out. So he missed a year in 2008, then came back in 2009. So this was his fourth career game. This was the first time he gave up runs. Not great. Jay Marshall. He just didn't play in the majors in 2008. 2009, he was not excellent either. Oh my, he had control issues. 22 walks to 18 strikeouts. Yikes. He pitched in, 7 innings, had 1 strikeout. Yeah, he just could not put guys away. Yikes. Jay Marshall. Kiko Calero. That's a name. Kind of towards the back end of a 7-year career. Was good with the Cardinals here. He was actually very good until this year. This was his only bad year. He had a good career. Strikeouts are about 1 an inning. Over 1 an inning. This guy's pretty decent. Kiko Calero. 27th round pick. Was drafted twice. Puerto Rican. Like this, I mean, you can take out this year, but these are like pretty good workloads. 70 innings, only 58 innings pitched. So this was the era that pitchers could come in for 1 batter and then just immediately be replaced. I wonder, is he a lefty? No, he's a righty. Maybe he's like a right-handed specialist or something, because that inning disparity is intriguing. He wasn't even pitching an inning per game, except for these 2 years. Kiko Calero, good player. St. Louis, Oakland, Florida. And our last guy, Lenny DiNardo. Was with Boston on the 04 team. He does not have the World Series designation, so he was not in the playoffs. He did not pitch very much. He was a starter this year. kind of meh. This was his biggest year. So he got the biggest workload here. This was one of the games he didn't start. 4.11 ERA. I mean, that's not awful, I guess. It's like a decent, like, 4th or 5th starter. Strikeout numbers, he did not. Wow. Oh, my. He almost had more walks than strikeouts in his career. He like, very similar. He just couldn't put guys away to that Jay Marshall guy we just looked at. Lenny DiNardo. All right, let's check out how our pitching lines went. Jose Contreras got the win. 1 run in 6 innings. McDougal gave up just 1 hit, and then perfect outings from Thornton and Bobby Jenks. Very on brand. That makes a lot of sense. Rich Harden gave up 2 runs. Yeah, this was a pitcher's duel. Jay Marshall, I mean, yeah, this was the first time he gave up runs. This was not ideal for him. Calero gave up 1 hit in 2 batters faced. DiNardo gave up 1 hit in an inning pitched. C.B. Buckner, yes, and Joe West. C.B. Buckner, one of the most maligned umpires. Joe West, very polarizing. Some people like him, some people don't. I tend to like him. Let's see how this game went. Travis Buck, double, scores Nick Swisher. Jim Thome on brand, solo homer to lead off. Scott Podsednik homered in this game. How many of those did he have this year? 2007, Scott Podsednik had 2. So this was one of 2 days that Scott Podsednik hit a home run. Oh, that's pretty special. Because he only had, 42 in his career? Only eclipsed 10 homers 1 time. So we got a Jim Thome who's top 10 all-time in homers. And then we've got Scott Podsednik, not known for his homers. Same game, too. Jim Thome, another RBI single. Jermaine Dye, a sac fly. And that's all she wrote. End of the ball game. Thornton came in, got a line out and a ground out. Looks like the back end of the A's order. So why did he didn't get credit for a save? It's a 3-run game. Why? So Thornton, Bobby Jenks. So Thornton was pitching at the beginning of the inning. Okay, it was Bobby Jenks who was pitching at the end. Why didn't he get a save in this one? Because it was still a 3-run game. I guess maybe I don't understand the rules behind that. I feel like he would still get the save, right? Even though he only got 2 outs. Maybe the distinguishing thing was that they had to get 3 outs in the last inning. Huh. Scott Podsednik was on a heater early on. He was almost hitting 500. Good gosh. So Darren Erstad remembers the all-time leader in center fielder fielding percentage. That is peak randomness. Jim Thome was 3 for 4. A couple of strikeouts. Let's see. Only 5 hits for A's. Bradley, Piazza, Chavez, Bobby Crosby, and Buck. Not a lot of strikeouts overall in this game. Only 6 and 5. 4 walks, 3 walks. So a lot of balls put in play. Piazza was hitting .375 in the first week of the season. Interesting. That's a cool game. A lot of recognizable names, especially with the White Sox kind of still hanging on to some of those iconic players that were on the 2005 World Series winning team. And then a good bit of recognizable names for this A's team. I feel like I almost recognized more names in this one than I did that Pirates-Reds game, which is just shocking because, I mean, yes, this was a little bit more of my time when I was actually watching baseball in '07, but, like, the fact that I couldn't recognize half of those Pirates players is shocking. Cool, good game. What is this? Is this the third time we've pulled the A's or second time? I guess we got the Kansas City Athletics, and then we got the A's in one of our first episodes. We've gotten the A's a couple of times. I think this is the first time we've gotten the White Sox. So, home game for the A's. 35,000 at the Coliseum. It was a night game on a Monday. 2 hours and 38 minutes. Jose Contreras gets the win to move to 1-1. 4-1 the winner, the White Sox. Oh, we forgot to see what they did this year. 07 White Sox, not good with Ozzie Guillen. They finished last. AL Central, that's what I'm looking for. Not quite last. The Royals were a little bit worse. And then the A's were not great either. Not much better than the White Sox were. Dan Johnson was on this team. Dan Herron, too. All the Dans. Yep. Not much going either of these years. All right, good game. Well, that's it for this episode of Baseball Reference Deep Dive with Zany Baseball. We'll be back for another one at some points. As always, thanks for watching. Have a good day.